Welcome to the Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Hi, I'm Nikki, a passionate special educator, autism advocate, resource creator with over a decade of experience, and you may know me as the face behind Teaching Autism. This podcast is your go-to place for practical tips, hands-on strategies, and inspiring and funny stories to support special educators all around the world, whether it's building independence, creating engaging lessons, or finding that elusive work-life balance. I'm here to help you thrive inside and outside of the classroom. Let's dive into today's episode and make a difference together. Hey friends, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're diving into an important and sometimes controversial topic in the autism community, the language we use when talking about autism. Specifically, we're looking at the difference between identity-first language, autistic person, and person-first language, person with autism, and why so many autistic individuals strongly prefer one over the other. If you've been in the special education or autism advocacy space for a while, you've probably heard debates about this. Some organizations and professionals still default to a person with autism, while more and more autistic self-advocates are saying, call us autistic. But why does it matter? And how can we, as educators, caregivers, and allies, make sure we're using language that truly respects the people we're talking about? So in this episode, we're going to break it down. What identity-first and person-first language actually means, why many autistic individuals prefer identity-first language, what professionals in the field say about this conversation, and how we can all be more intentional with the language we use. I know your time is valuable, so let's get into it. First up, what's the difference between identity-first and person-first language? So let's start with some definitions. Person-first language is when you put the person before the condition. So instead of saying autistic person, you'd say person with autism. The idea behind this is to emphasize that autism does not define the person, it's just one part of who they are. On the other hand, identity-first language places autism as an integral part of the person's identity. Instead of saying a person with autism, you would say an autistic person. And this aligns with how we use language for other identities. You wouldn't say a person with blackness or a person with left-handedness. So, which one is right? Well, that depends on who you ask. If you ask autistic people themselves, the majority prefer identity-first language. And there are a few key reasons why identity-first language has become the preferred choice for many in the autistic community. Number one, autism is a core part of identity, not just a condition. Many autistic individuals see autism as a fundamental part of who they are, not something separate from them. It affects how they think, experience the world, communicate, and interact with others. Saying autistic person acknowledges that autism isn't just something they have, it's a part of them, just like being left-handed or being a musician. Person-first language can feel stigmatizing. The push for person-first language originally came from medical and disability communities trying to separate individuals from the diagnosis. But for many autistic people, this implies that autism is something negative, something that needs to be separated from them, rather than embraced as a natural part of their identity. Some have pointed out that we don't say person with giftedness or person with intelligence, so why say person with autism as if it's something that can be detached? And the majority of the autistic community supports identity-first language. So while there are exceptions, when surveyed, most autistic adults and self-advocates prefer to be called autistic. Organizations led by autistic individuals like the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network advocate for identity-first language. If the goal is to respect and uplift autistic voices, the best thing we can do is listen to what the majority of autistic people are saying. So what do professionals and advocacy groups say? While some professional organizations like the American Psychological Association still recommend person-first language in medical and research contexts, the tide is shifting. More and more disability rights groups, educators, and therapists are acknowledging that identity-first language aligns more with the preferences of the autistic community. The Autistic Self-Advocacy Network has been a strong advocate for identity-first language and has pushed back against large organizations that insist on person-first language. Many neurodiversity affirming therapists and educators now use identity-first language because it respects autistic individuals' perspectives. That said, it's always best to ask individuals what they personally prefer. Some autistic individuals do still prefer person-first language, and honouring that personal choice is always key. So how can we be more intentional about the language we use? Now that we know why identity-first language is preferred by many, what can we do moving forward? Here are some practical steps. 1. Listen to autistic voices. The best way to know how someone wants to be identified is to ask them. If an autistic person tells you they prefer a certain way of being referred to, you can respect that. 2. Shift your own language if you haven't already. If you've always used person with autism because that's what you were taught, it might be time to reconsider. It's okay to evolve your language when you learn new perspectives. 3. Educate others, but gently. If you hear someone insisting on person-first language out of habit, gently explain why many autistic individuals prefer identity first. Keep it about education, not confrontation. And number 4, model inclusive language in the classroom and workplace. If you're an educator, therapist, or caregiver, be intentional about using identity-first language unless an individual prefers otherwise. At the end of the day, language is about respect, and when the majority of a community expresses a preference, it is important that we listen to that. Autism isn't something that can be separated from an individual. It's a core part of how they experience the world and who they are. So when we say autistic person instead of person with autism, we're acknowledging that reality in a way that affirms identity rather than separating someone from it. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you found yourself shifting the way you talk about autism? Have you had conversations about this topic in your workplace or school? Let's keep this discussion going. Come and chat with me on social media at Teaching Autism. And don't forget, if you're looking for free resources to support inclusive language and neurodiversity affirming practices, check out my free resource library. I'll link it in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, let's keep learning, listening, and making the world more inclusive, one conversation at a time.